Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Art of MMA. This is episode number 44. I'm your host, Mike Ginn. Of course, joining me as always, I'm talking about the mechanic, Brandon Cuttino. Brandon, what's up, buddy?
Hey, man, it's good to be with you on a Wednesday. I'm feeling good, ready to talk some fights.
You should feel good. Check out Brandon's Instagram. He's got his Wellness Wednesday going on. He's getting all stretched out. He's ready to go. Of course, we're both rocking the Art of MMA. He's got the Bruce Lee Legendary shirt. I got my logo tee on. Super comfortable, great apparel. You can check out the splash on the page. Everything is brought to you by Fighters First. We're a part of the Fighters First Network. You can get all our great merchandise on fightersfirst.shop, including ours, other shows on our network like Cage My IQ and Dan Bakley, who's usually on our show once in a while. You can also get great legendary tees like the one he's got on there. And if you guys are watching this, maybe you found out on social media yesterday, brand new Bam Bam Bigelow and Smokin' Joe Frazier legendary tees are on the site. So check those out if you're into all our legendary tees we've been doing. Of course, we got some other cool graphic tees and brand tees as well. So, Brandon, you ready to get on with this show?
Yes, sir.
All right, last week I did not have a rant. I wasn't that angry about anything, surprisingly, considering how badly my picks have gone lately. I know Dan and Brandon have wanted to pick at me a little bit for being bad on my picks, but I wasn't that angry. I'm still not angry about my picks this week, even though I went 0-3 last week. I'll go ahead and put it out there, a little self-humiliation. But one thing did kind of get my nerve, Brandon. News came out last week, and I call it news very loosely. Stipe had agreed to a bout agreement with Jon Jones. Now, as usual, one little tidbit of the information came out, and the MMA community goes wild. Now, I'm not upset at the MMA community for going wild. That's what they're supposed to do. They get excited over news. Like, that's they're supposed to do. But MMA journalists jumped in on this. I'm talking about MMA Fighting and Junkie and Sherdog and all these other websites jumping in on this, and they were all going on talking about how Stipe had agreed to fight Jon Jones. Jon Jones said last year he's not fighting Stipe if the title's not on the line. He said it multiple times. He's fighting for the belt. He's coming to heavyweight to fight Ngannou or fight for the belt. Even when Stipe was still champion, there was talk about him versus Ngannou. That's the fight that Jon Jones wants. He thinks Ngannou is easy for whatever reason. He targets him. He thinks he sees in his mind that he has a way to beat Francis Ngannou. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Hopefully we see that fight one day. But for the MMA community and what I call MMA journalists to go nuts feeding false information to the MMA community, like all of a sudden Stipe versus Jon Jones is about to happen because Dana White offered Stipe the fight, and Stipe is anxious to get back in the cage. He wants to fight Jones. He wants to fight Ngannou. I'm honestly at this point surprised that they didn't offer Stipe part of the interim title situation, and maybe they did, and he just wasn't interested in that, and we just don't know it. But Stipe's been chomping at the bit. He's talking about going to one and fighting Buller or something like that. Stipe wants to get back in that cage and erase the bad taste in his mouth. He doesn't want to go out like the way he did against Ngannou. And props to him. He wants to get back in there, right? Jon Jones, and confirmed by you want to talk about news, MMA journalists, confirmed by Coach Mike Winklejohn, Jon Jones' coach, and Jackson Wink. Jon Jones will not fight Stipe. Not without the belt on the line, not for just a contender spot. He wants the title. He's coming to heavyweight. He's fighting in 2022. He wants Ngannou, or whoever the champion is at the time when he gets ready to come back in the beginning of the year. That's what we call news. That's getting all the facts from both sides. Not getting the fans hyped up for no reason. Not having the message boards and the Facebook groups and Twitter and all these other MMA spheres going crazy over something that's never going to happen. Every time I go on, Brandon, every time I go onto like a message board and I'd see this and I'd be like, the fight's not going to happen. Stop spreading this. And people were like, oh, you're a hater. It's not. Well, guess what? Fight's not happening. Jon Jones people have said so. We've told you from the beginning if something is a rumor or if something is a fact. Did Stipe agree to fight Jon Jones? Maybe he even signed his portion of the contract? Absolutely, I believe that. Did Dana push that narrative and try to get Jon Jones to fight Stipe? Yeah, I believe that too. But until John Jones, the other half of this narrative, comes out and says, hey, I want to fight Stipe, that is never going to happen. So my rant basically, Brandon, and I'll get your thoughts on it in just a second. It's just really get the facts. MMA journalism is on such fragile ground throughout the years. MMA journalists aren't taken as seriously as other sports journalists. Ariel Helwani gets a little bit of credibility because he's been on ESPN. But most of the people that get credibility as far as MMA goes are former fighters that talk about stuff. The Michael Bispings, the Rashard Evans, obviously Kenny Florian, who's been doing it for years. People that are on major networks, Daniel Cormier, they're the ones that are getting more credibility than people that have been grinding away. The Damon Martins of the world, the Steffi Hayes of the world that I've been following for a long time. The people that have been putting in the work in covering MMA, there's not very many of us that are name brand. And what we say comes out of our mouths counts. So if you start spreading false information, then at this point, we're no better than, and I'm not dissing this because I follow wrestling dirt sheets like religiously, but we're no better than a dirt sheet at this point, spreading rumors that we may have heard from somebody who heard something from somebody, heard something from somebody, but we want news so badly, we're spreading the false narrative. So please take your time, fact check, get the information, and then put it out there. Trust me, in just a second, I'm gonna tell you some news. You know why? Because that's called news. Those are facts. Those are things that have already been reported, signed on, and if they haven't been signed, then I'll tell you, hey, this is a rumored thing. It's just giving people all the information, and then they want to get excited about it, absolutely. But don't give them half the story. You got any thoughts on that whole thing, Brandon, that went down last week with the whole Stipe thing?
I mean, it does. I mean, like, hey, like you said, maybe, Stipe did, say yes to it. But again, like John Jones, though, didn't. It's just one of those things where I remember I saw something like, I think Denzel Washington, he did an interview a while back, and it was floating online too, like on Twitter and everything like that. But it was basically where he was just saying, like, everybody just wants to be first. They're not trying to have the facts, just
I reposted that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm saying it's just the same thing. Everybody just wants to be first. They're not really checking it. It could be lies. They don't care if it's wrong. They just want to be the first ones now. They want to be breaking news.
Yeah. Yeah. I reposted that one, I think, on the DCXIV account, where it was like Denzel said, we live in a society where we have now too much information. And he didn't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing because people don't care about being right. They care about being first. And yeah, 100%. 100%. All I'm saying is you can be both. If you take a second, find out the information, you can be both. You can be right and you can be first. If you heard Stipe said he wants to fight John Jones or agree to it, call John Jones people. Call Jackson Wink. Call somebody that at least knows John Jones and can say, hey, do you think this will happen? I promise you they would have said no. You could probably ask Holly Holm or Michelle Watterson. They probably would have told you it's not going to happen. So, all right, that is my rant for the week. If you guys want to leave a comment, let me know what you think of the whole situation. Also, let me know. I know Dan's show on our network's been doing a lot of clips for the previews and fights and stuff like that. It's been getting a lot of traction. Do you want me to break up the rant? Do you want me to put it in like clips so you guys can see our weekly rant and see me go completely batshit like once a week or once every other week or so as we do it? Let me know. Leave a comment. And as Brandon always says, like and subscribe if you like what we're doing. Keep the lights on, so to speak, and go to Art of MMA. Go to FightersFirst.shop. Buy the merch. All right, let's get into some quick news real quick before we get to how badly I did in my picks last week. A couple things coming out real quick. Pitbull is complaining about an early stoppage. I kind of thought originally he had accepted that he had lost and he had went to sleep, but I guess not. He thinks it was an early stoppage. He wants the rematch at 145 pounds, which is, kind of where I think he's going. I'm not sure AJ's on the same page, but we'll see. And he wants it in Brazil. He's like, I fought you in LA. Now come to my territory and give me the same respect and fight in Brazil. See what happens with that, but that is what Pitbull is asking for. Speaking of Bellator, Fedor back in action in October 23rd on the Bellator card. It's going to be him and veteran Tim Johnson. in one of maybe even Fedor's last fights. We'll see. He said he wanted to finish in Moscow. We'll see if that's the last one or not. Over in the UFC, a couple things going on. A lot of us, including myself, have been looking forward to Sean Brady versus Kevin Lee. Kind of a step up for Sean Brady to see where he's at in his undefeated streak. Kevin Lee, obviously a contender for a while now in different weight classes. But Sean Brady's out once again, this time because of a foot infection. So hopefully he can get that taken care of and we can get that fight before the end of the year. But as far as I know, that fight is now canceled and not being rebooked. So we'll see. I think Kevin Lee's looking to get back into action, but that's just a rumor. I hear, not news, rumor. Let you people at home know that. Luke Rockhold, people had rumored him versus Sean Strickland. It is now official, UFC 268, November 6th. Of course, that's the rumor at Madison Square Garden card, but with everything going on around the world, I'm not going to say the words, so don't get blacklisted by Google, but with everything going on, not sure New York is going to happen. We shall see. I know they're still pushing pretty hard for it, but I'm not sure at this point if that's going to happen. Former UFC fighter Chad Mendes is making a comeback. But Brandon, much like I said with Jeremy Stevens, he's going to BKFC. I got a couple more news announcements, but I want to get your opinion on this. Chad Mendes was never really known for his striking. He's a wrestler. How do you think he's going to do in BKFC?
I mean, he did have. I mean, you're right. He wasn't known more as a wrestler because that's what Team Alpha Male was about. But I mean, he did have some knockout power. So, I mean, I think I did see a video clip of him, working the mitts or the pads, with his coach. I mean, his hands, they were looking decent. So, I mean, there's only one way to see, who it is that he's going up against.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have the worst hands. That's true. He does have a few knockouts and a few strikes. I do remember famously against Conor McGregor, the reason why he was winning for a while was because he kept taking Conor down. The moment they were on their feet, Conor put him to sleep. So Chad Mendes' strength has always been his grappling. But, maybe he can, he's been away from the cage for a while. Maybe he's just been repetitively working on his boxing. Still has a competitive itch and wants to compete and get paid. And BKFC is definitely throwing that money out to former UFC guys. I actually wonder why he didn't go to Gamebred fighting because I think like bare knuckle MMA might be a better matchup, but I don't know. Yeah. That's up to Chad Mendes, and who obviously BKFC is probably paying a lot more.
Yeah, I know somebody who's going to be fighting for Gamebred, fighting promotion. It's crazy.
Well, you can't just leave the viewers at home hanging like that, Brand.
I mean, it's a fellow. She's actually a fellow kickboxer. She's actually fought in Glory. Her name is Crystal Lawson. I don't remember what show exactly the date she's going to be on, but be on the lookout for her.
Cool, definitely. Last news from the UFC. Nico Montano. She's been struggling to make weight. She was the original flyweight champion.
Yep, first ever.
Yeah, based off the tough performance that she had, she won that. Got stripped of it, never defended it because she had injuries and couldn't make weight. Now she's actually even doing a documentary based on her weight issues. Went all the way up to, I believe her last fight was supposed to be at 135, and she still couldn't make weight. I think they kind of missed an opportunity because he finally had somebody else who could fight at 145 now, but he cut her. She couldn't keep it together, and she also had some disparaging things to say here and there. But really, I think it was her own fault. I know she had some medical situations, but I don't have a lot of remorse for a fighter that has plenty of time to get ready for a fight and agrees to a fight and then can't make the weight by that much. It was like 7 pounds. It wasn't even like close. If you can't make it, then, tell people ahead of time. Let's do a catch weight. Let's do something. But she left the promotion hanging the day of. They didn't get a fight. It got scrapped. And then another fighter isn't getting a payday because their opponent couldn't make it to the scale. So that is what it is. Farewell. Thank you for a great career. You're talking about UFC and Strikeforce veteran Jacare. Jacare Souza at 41 said he's done with MMA. He's retiring from the sport. Maybe not done from competition. He's talking about going back to his first love. He's going back to jiu-jitsu training, competing, and maybe doing a couple jiu-jitsu tournaments here and there. So good luck to the next chapter for Jacare. I always love watching him fight. I was almost heartbroken after his last fight when his arm got broken. I did pick against him because I saw a younger version of himself against him. But, definitely shout out to Jacare. Brandon, what's your favorite Jacare fight?
Honestly, I don't really have a favorite Jacare fight like that.
He's been around for so long.
Yeah. Like I said, he was on Strikeforce. Like, I really don't watch Strikeforce that much. I only watch Strikeforce here and there for a Cyborg or like a King Mo fight. But I really kind of didn't really watch Jacare like that.
Yeah, I was always a huge fan of Jacare, and he had 4 straight losses. He had a lot of tough situations. People are going to remember the Kevin Holland situation where Kevin Holland knocked him out, kind of sitting down. But against Mousasi, against Okami, Kamosi, Yoel Romero, Vitor Belfort, this guy fought who's who in both Strikeforce and UFC. So definitely earned his retirement. Congratulations, Jacare. And one last news note before we get into everything that happened last weekend. It's rumored. It's been spread around Twitter. I'm not sure if it's 100% happening. I haven't seen it signed. But MMA Fighting and some other people are reporting Anderson Silva versus Tito Ortiz is going to be on the undercard of that Vitor, or maybe even co-main, of the Vitor Belfort and Oscar De La Hoya fight on September 11th. So people have told me, Brandon told me, I haven't seen for sure, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be a boxing match, not a grappling match. So that's probably one way that Anderson Silva agreed to it, because I had heard rumors of Anderson trying to fight Logan Paul, but I don't know. Money talks, bullshit walks, and here we go. All right, that is the news. That is the rant. You ready to get some fight action, Brandon?
Know it.
All right, last week I went 0-3. Dan and Brandon both went 3-0. We're talking about UFC 265. Lead dog, what can I do, man? The dude's on fire. I was ahead for so long, and now I can't even get right. Y'all might as well just skip over my picks. Just go straight to his picks. My picks are garbage lately. Overall, I'm still at almost a 57% clip, which tells you how successful I was early on. So I'm not that garbage, but Brandon's leading the way. Of course, Dan's leading the way for all our guests. So congrats to both of them going 3-0. I am a humble person that can accept my defeat. But let's talk UFC 265, Brandon. Let's talk about Ciryl Gane and Derrick Lewis. Let's jump straight into the main event. I said last week I picked Derrick Lewis because he had a puncher's chance. That was the only reason. Ciryl Gane, we knew was going to stay safely at distance. We knew he wasn't going to put himself at risk too much. Heck, at one point in this, or 2 points in this fight, he literally was running, literally running away. And I think the turning point in this fight, and there was never a time when Gane was in trouble, because Gane literally kept his distance, jumped in, jumped out, got his shots in, got his shots out. Derrick Lewis could never find range. He was trying to throw head kicks and fell down. Derrick Lewis was trying to do just about a lot of things that may not be out of character, but not something he really does as often. But the leg kicks, those leg kicks wore Derrick Lewis down. Didn't see it early on because Derrick Lewis doesn't really move that much, so you're not really seeing him bounce around. But I saw something right before the finish. Derrick Lewis went for a lunging right-left. And when he threw the left, his knee just buckled. And at that point, Derrick Lewis quit. He was like, I'm not going to keep doing this. I forget that. And Ciryl Gane kind of jumped on him, was pummeling him. Derrick Lewis was against the cage, kind of tucked down, wasn't fighting back. And the ref didn't stop it. The refs gave him a chance. So Derrick Lewis eventually threw a couple punches back to get him off of him. And then not even 30 seconds later, he's on the ground, pummeling again, and the ref finally stops it. He gave Derrick Lewis every chance, but Derrick Lewis personally, I don't think wanted to be in there at that point. Once his leg was gone, forget the puncher's chance, forget everything. Derrick Lewis was like, I'm done. I saw a different Derrick Lewis than I think I've seen in a while. Between rounds, I don't know if it's because he couldn't figure Ciryl Gane out. He couldn't figure out how to get that distance to make up for all Ciryl Gane's movement. But Derrick Lewis never looked competitive in this fight. And Ciryl Gane did exactly what he was supposed to do. He went in, he went out. He never put himself at risk. When Lewis was lunging, he even ran when he had to, just to get away from that power. And then when the opportunity was there, he pounced. And now Ciryl Gane is the interim heavyweight champion, glorified number one contender. I think it's ironic. I was going to mention this actually in the news notes, but I think it's ironic Amanda Nunes hasn't defended her belt, her bantamweight belt, since December of 2019. And she was supposed to be on this card, I know. But still, that's almost like a year and a half, even before this Juliana Pena fight that fell apart. Ngannou just won the belt in March, and they already got an interim title. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes at this point with Dana and Ngannou. It's a very much back and forth. But before we get to all what's next, let me go ahead and get your thoughts on this fight. What did Ciryl Gane do to just totally neutralize Derrick Lewis?
I mean, you guys really should just go back to last week's episode, because I basically told everybody what was going to happen. I said Ciryl Gane was going to embarrass Derrick Lewis. I said he was going to finish him. He was going to stop him in the third round. And what round did he stop him in? The third round. But Mike didn't want to listen to me. Mike's like, no, Ciryl Gane's going to get knocked out. But wait, who got dropped? Who got stopped? Mike, tell me again. I can't remember. Wait, who got stopped again?
You have no humility whatsoever.
Oh, all right.
Next week I'm doing the show by myself. Go ahead, man.
It's like I tell you, man. Ciryl Gane, he has the range, he has the distance. Like I said, what Ciryl Gane does is he fights his fight. He doesn't fight your fight, and he makes you fight his fight. So which means, like I say, he's gonna be patient. He's gonna keep his distance. He's got the reach. He's gonna use his jab. Saying he has, I don't know the exact numbers, but his strike per minute is at a 5, while his punches being absorbed per minute is at a 2. So I mean his defense is good. So where he's not getting hit, but he's one doing the hitting. Now again, a lot of people, I'm saying a lot of people will see that as him being born because he moves around. You know, he's not really going for knockout, but he does have knockout power. But again, he doesn't rush into it. He lets it come to him. If he sees the finish, he'll go for it. If he can win on points, he'll take it. And especially too, man, if he gets a lead on you, wins that first round, wins that second round, then boy, you're in trouble, and you got to try to push the pace. But he's already ahead of you. It's like he's an Olympic sprinter. You guys are in a race. He's ahead of you, but he's not trying to blow you by. He's not trying to go for the world record. He just wants to make sure you're like 2 steps behind, and he can still win. That's how Ciryl Gane's fighting. And it's kind of hard to beat somebody like that if you let them get the lead. If you keep it even with them, then you'll be all right. But once he gets that lead, it's going to be hard to catch up to him. And that's what Ciryl Gane does. He, like I said, all Ciryl Gane, he even said it before, the only thing he had to worry about was Derrick Lewis's right hand. That was it. And you even said it last week in your pick when you're picking him. He was like, yo, Derrick Lewis got that right hand. That's it. I told you last week, too. I thought it was going to be, my biggest fear was it was going to be one of those fights where Ciryl Gane was too careful. But that wasn't the case. He did come. They started off a little slow, but then he kind of started picking Lewis apart. And I think the biggest difference between this fight and the Blades fight was that Derrick Lewis, you could see the first round, Derrick Lewis was very cautious. He was very like, let me see if I can find range. Let me see if I can do this. Because Derrick Lewis likes to like figure people out. Like even the announcers were like, first round, Derrick Lewis always starts slow. Sometimes even the second round. It was the third round against Volkov before he turned it on and knocked him out. Derrick Lewis likes to like, all right, you keep doing the same thing. I'm remembering it. All right, you did it again. All right, you did it again. All right, now I'm waiting for it. So the next time you do that same thing, like the way Blades goes in for that takedown, the moment he saw Blades faint and go down, he's like, all right, uppercut. And I think Derrick Lewis was very smart when it comes to things like that. The problem with Ciryl Gane is he didn't do the same thing. Ciryl Gane would do a leg kick. And at first he wasn't even throwing real leg kicks, right? He was just doing a little pitter-patter, almost like it reminded me of Orange Cassidy from AEW. He was just like, tap your leg. But once he realized Derrick Lewis wasn't moving the leg, then he started whipping the leg kicks. And by the second round, you can see Derrick move a little slower. By the third round,
you could tell his leg was completely compromised. I think the greatest thing, the compliment I could give to Ciryl Gane is that he was unpredictable. Like, Derrick Lewis could never figure him out. And that's why I said when I saw in the corner, Derrick looked more and more defeated as between the rounds go. His coaches were like, you need to be the aggressor. Don't let him take the middle of the cage. You take the middle of the cage. And Derrick Lewis would come out to the middle, and then he'd start backing up again. Because he didn't know where Ciryl Gane was coming. You know, Dan likes to always say he moves like a featherweight. Some people say a middleweight. He moves very well for a big man. He's definitely a lot smaller than a Derrick Lewis, but he had the height and the reach on Derrick Lewis, which I think made a big difference because Derrick he just could never get inside and make it dirty. Ciryl Gane is you said it, he's a very good defensive fighter. My biggest fear was this was going to be a boring fight because he never took a chance. He was never going to take a chance. And that's where my pick came from. Because if you said it last week, everybody fights to a different game plan for a different opponent. And you're right. But we're in the business of making picks and previews. I got to go with what I've seen. I can't predict what he's going to do if I've never seen it before. In the last 3 fights, Ciryl Gane has fought a different fight against 3 different opponents. Against Rosenstrike, he was boring. He did what he did to get points, like you said. Volkov, he picked up the speed a little bit. He got caught with some kicks here and there, but he picked it up a little bit, but never tried to finish him. My point was that if he sat like that, he would never hurt Derrick Lewis, and Derrick Lewis would have 5 rounds to figure out one punch. That's where I was coming from. It wasn't that I didn't think Ciryl Gane was a more talented fighter. It's just that I thought Derrick would eventually catch him. But Ciryl Gane came with a completely different game plan. He's like, I'm not going to give him a chance to figure me out. So I give all the props to Ciryl Gane. I think Ciryl Gane absolutely deserves to be the number 1 contender right now. I do have a problem with the interim title. I think it's bullshit. Literally, you have a champion who just won not even 5 months ago. Like, it was the end of March.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are. I think that's an insult to Francis Ngannou and everything he's went through to get back to that heavyweight title and to get that title over a champion who's been arguably, other than that one hiccup against Daniel Cormier, Stipe's been the champion for like the last 4 years. Like, he beat the guy who completely destroyed him the first time because of strategy. And then Ngannou went back to the wood shop. He learned new tricks. And so this is where I'm going to turn it to you, Brandon. I'm going to let you go ahead and start with this now. We know what's next okay. We hope what's next for Ciryl Gane is that Ngannou matchup while we're waiting to figure out what's going on with John Jones. Ciryl Gane took no damage in this fight. There's no reason I can't think they can hop back in the cage in a couple months. Maybe even at that Madison Square Garden card in November. Depending what's going on around the world, and by around the world, you guys know what I mean, you know. But let me ask you this. Hoping, I'm not even going to say guessing, hoping that Ciryl Gane and Ngannou fight. Who wins that matchup?
Oh, man. That's a tough one. I mean,
and right now, I'll tell you right now, I'll give you a little cheat. Right now, Ciryl Gane is the favorite. And I can't understand for the life of me why.
I was gonna tell you this, man. It's why, man, because dude, legit, like Ciryl Gane, like he really could have a run at heavyweight. Like he could have a reign at heavyweight. Like that's how good he is. Like I'm telling you, man, like I told you, he makes people fight his fight. You know, like saying you're thinking of, oh, you know, Ngannou, he got that knockout power. Oh, he could stop him, stuff like that. But it's like, when have we seen somebody keep, like, I mean, besides, I mean, the Derrick Lewis and Ngannou fight where, like, Ngannou wasn't trying to really engage and Derrick Lewis won that fight. So, I mean, I could really see the same thing happen with Ciryl Gane. And, you know, so, I mean, like I said, I mean, probably right now, if we're just going off everything, I probably could lean more towards Ciryl Gane. But then again, hey, man, Francis Ngannou is hanging out with Usman, and he's working on some jabs out here, you know, with Trevor Whitman, then hey, you know, that could be a different story.
Here's the one thing I say, and once again, rewind the tape. Last week I said Ciryl Gane very much is one of the futures of the heavyweight division. I never dismissed Ciryl Gane as a contender. I thought it was a little soon after 8-9 fights, but I never dismissed.
Hey man, Brock Lesnar, he got it in 3, you know?
Yeah. And Also a very different era, though. Like, that was a name thing. And Brock just backed it up, other than that one hiccup against Frank Mir. But my thing about this, one, I can't believe – the reason why I say I can't believe Ciryl Gane is favored over Ngannou is, once again, a disrespect to the champion. Like, everything Ngannou ran through everybody except for Stipe and Derrick Lewis on his way to that belt. And when he got the rematch against Stipe, he ran through Stipe with tricks we'd never seen him do. He was good on the ground. He showed his wrestling that he's been working with people like Usman, like you talked about. We didn't know. We saw him practicing wrestling. We didn't know all of a sudden you get in the cage and all of a sudden he's a wrestler now too. I'm not saying who's going to win that fight. I'm just thinking at worst you make it a pick'em. I don't think you give the champion the underdog status when the man has been literally the biggest monster in that division for the last couple years. He's been the one nobody wants to fight. He sat there and blitzed Rosenstruck so bad, Mike Tyson, like, that Rosenstruck took for a while to recover for that one. He was knocked out before he ever got hit. He was so scared. I think if they do match up, I think Ciryl has the technical edge maybe in striking. I think the difference is that Ngannou will take the center of the cage. I think Ngannou will come across that cage fast. Now, he did kind of come out patient against Stipe, which was scary because nobody ever seen him come out patient against somebody. But what happens if Ngannou wrestles Ciryl Gane? Like, that's the one opponent I haven't seen Ciryl Gane really go to war with, is somebody that can take him down. I know Ciryl Gane has a heel hook submission. I know he has a couple ground submissions. I'm not saying Ciryl Gane can't handle himself on the ground. But what I'm saying is I've never seen somebody take him down. I've never seen somebody come out and blitz him and put him in that situation. So I think it's going to be a very fun matchup. I think it's interesting. It's going to be a lot of fun to talk about if and when it does happen. There's still talk of Stipe versus Ngannou. There's still talk of Ngannou versus John Jones. So that's my biggest worry is we went through this whole interim title for what? I mean, if you remember a few years ago, Tony Ferguson.
You want to know what we went for? So they could try to sell tickets in Houston. This was all about selling tickets for Houston. And which, of course, that place wasn't even sold out. They said it was sold out. Yeah, but if you look around that place, there were some empty seats out there. But I told you, man, that's why they did the title shot. They wanted to put Derrick Lewis on the card because, like, oh, he's from Houston. He'll sell this place out. And then, boom, it just didn't happen.
Yeah, they didn't have faith in Amanda carrying the pay-per-view. They put in Derrick Lewis. And, of course, then Amanda unfortunately got sick, too, so it made it even worse. And then, yeah, it wasn't sold out even if maybe the tickets were sold, but the arena definitely wasn't full. And, yeah, here we are. Ciryl Gane now the number one contender. But that's all he is the number one contender. I don't hold my breath that this fight is going to happen. And I just don't. I don't know. If you had a over-under before we move on to the co-main, if you had you at least give it 50-50 chance of happening? Or do you think – what do you think the odds of this fight happening with Ngannou?
Sure, we'll go with 50-50 because I don't see John Jones and Ngannou happening until John Jones is getting paid.
Yeah. What about Stipe? Is he even in the talk?
I mean, I don't think Ngannou would have a problem really fighting Stipe again. I don't know if the UFC just wants to do it again because I really want to say they're all about making this money. And to me, I just feel like they don't think Stipe's a money guy. You know, he's not bringing anything in. Yeah,
I think they've dismissed Stipe for a long time. So I'm very interested in I just don't know. Like, Dana is so around being very secretive about this whole situation with Ngannou, and I don't know what the real situation is. And I don't think anybody does, except Dana and Ngannou and Ngannou's people. Or maybe even Ngannou doesn't know the way he's coming off talking to the media. I don't even think he knows. So we'll see. Ciryl Gane defeats Derrick Lewis via TKO in the third round, like Brandon, the lead dog, predicted. And here we go. All right. Co-main event, I was wrong about that too. Jose Aldo continues to turn back the clock. And obviously him and Pedro are the same age. They're the same build. Like, they're very similar in appearance and the way they're going. But they looked like two totally different fighters on Saturday night. Jose Aldo looked almost 10 years younger, the way he was moving around that cage Saturday night. That move down to 135 pounds has been career changing for him. He looked like at 145, like maybe he was even going to go up to 155 to finish out his career. He moved down, and he just like fountain of youth. Like he was like, boom. What'd you think about that fight? And break it down for me.
Hey man, Jose Aldo, man, too fast for Pedro Munoz, man. His hands were just flying. Like you say, it looked like I said, it looked like WEC Jose Aldo, man. His hands were flying. He got those round kicks going. I think going in towards the second round, really, he's really started laying those bad boys in on Munoz. So I mean, say, man, the only thing with like different from this fight than the main event was these like Munoz and Aldo were really standing in front of each other and just straight up banging. While in the heavyweight fight, Gane was moving around. He was keeping it moving. He wasn't trying to stand in front. But I think Jose knew that he could stay in front of Pedro because, like I said, his hands were just quicker than Pedro. He had faster hands, and he had those leg kicks working, and that's what
dramatically
won
faster.
In the fight.
Dramatically faster.
Yep.
And I think it's weird. Like I said last week, my reason I picked Pedro is because I thought he could grapple. I thought he could grab him, mix it up, dirty it up a little bit, and that just never happened. I don't think Pedro Munoz was ever in trouble. Like I don't think he was ever like hurt that badly. I feel like it was just a matter of Jose beat him to the punch for 3 straight rounds, kicks and punches, and that's what it was. And I apologize. Anybody hears a little background noise. Hopefully I edit it out. They decided to cut our grass right when I'm on the show. Yeah. But anyway, I'm good at editing stuff like that out. That I do edit, Brandon. I don't edit the bullshit we talk on the show all the time. Except the one time I sneezed, I did edit that out. But yeah, Jose looks fantastic. He looks like rejuvenated, like he's got an interest in the sport again. He was never an old fighter, but he was definitely like he looked like he definitely was like, I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to do this, because he had carried the banner for the UFC, especially that 145-pound division, from the time it started up until the time he lost to Conor. And then he never really got that swagger back, I guess is what you want to put. But he had lost like 3 straight fights. But now he's on a 2-fight winning streak, and he looks like a totally different fighter. So he's calling out TJ Dillashaw for the end of the year. I don't know if we're going to see that. TJ seems to be waiting for the winner of Peter Yan versus Sterling. But we don't have, like, I don't see why that TJ fight couldn't happen, other than maybe TJ won't be healthy enough. Because people got to remember, TJ also just had knee surgery after that fight with Sanhagen. So I don't know what TJ's health situation is. So we'll see. If he doesn't get TJ, who else will be a great matchup for Jose Aldo? I'm thinking Rob Font personally. Next to each other.
Yeah, I mean, he like Jose Aldo could get Rob Font, or to be honest with you, man, I wouldn't be surprised.
Sanhagen.
If depending wins the title fight, if Aldo keeps it, I mean, I could see Jose and Aldo taking it. But if Yan wins it, I'm sure then maybe it could be Dillashaw versus Yan instead.
So you think depending who wins, it'll be a different contender?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because like I said, we already saw Yan and Aldo go at it, and it wasn't good for Aldo. So I don't think they would run that back. But if it's Sterling, then that's a different matchup, and that could probably get people excited.
In fairness, that Yan and Aldo fight was a war for like most of the fight until the end.
Yeah.
Peter Yan got the better of him towards the end, but in the beginning they were going back and forth. Yeah, I mean, I guess you do have a good point because they've already fought each other. But Jose Aldo's making a push, so we'll see what happens next with him. As far as Pedro Munoz goes, I mean, there's a rack of contenders he can continue to fight, but I don't know if he'll be in the title picture again after this one.
I can see him maybe fighting Frankie Edgar, since Edgar's coming off that loss. He has a loss.
Frankie Edgar, Marlon Moraes, Cody Garbrandt needs a dance partner. Dominic Cruz is another guy.
Garbrandt is dropping down to 125.
Yeah, that dude's dropping, picking up. He don't know what he's doing. We'll see what happens with Cody Garbrandt, but there is Merab. Merab needs an opponent. Nobody wants to fight Merab because of all his wrestling ability. So we'll see. I think there's some fun fights for Pedro Munoz. And I'm still calling for him and Jimmy to run it back one more time. Like they were already fought twice, right?
Yep.
Run it back one more time because both fights have been fun. So there's fights. Marlon Vera's another dude, and of course, there's Sugar Sean sitting there. So we shall see. As far as picks go, Dan, who's not here this week, he did pick Tisha Torres to beat Angela Hill. Tisha just from the get controlled the timing, the distance. Angela had moments, especially in that second round, but I think it was just all Tisha Torres personally. Kind of knew that kind of coming in. Tisha.
Really, that fight was kind of really the same as the Aldo Munoz fight, where it's just Tisha Torres. She was just too fast. She was just too athletic for Angela Hill. Yeah,
that's it. That right there. Yeah. Your pick, Jessica Penney. I gotta be honest. Like, I know Carolina Kowalko. Carolina Double K. I'm gonna pull your move. Double K. I know they said it a million times on the show too last week, and I was like, oh, that's how you say it. I'm gonna say it. But now that I haven't heard it in a couple of days, now I'm like butchering it. But Double K, like Carolina hasn't looked great in her last few fights before she took the time off to try to get right and decide if she wants to keep doing it. And Jessica Penney, as much as I've hated on her, I hated on her for her situation. I told you last week, like, it's not that she's not a good fighter. She's a former champion. I just didn't think her situation dictated her still having a shot right after she came back from almost a 3-4 year layoff. I thought, you got to earn your way back. But she got it. She's taking advantage of it. She looked fantastic with the armbar, the grappling, the transitions. You have anything to say about your fight?
Man, just like I said, Jessica Penney, man, she's coming in for this W. Like I said, Double K. This could have been her last fight in the UFC. She might be getting those walking papers because now that's her 5th fight in a row that she has lost. So
not even walking papers. Wouldn't be surprised if she decides that's it, because she wasn't sure she wanted to keep fighting before this. So I think after this, maybe. On the main card, Vicente Luque, like I said.
Whoa! What about your pick, man? We're not gonna talk about your pick.
I'm getting there. I'm working my way back there. Because what
get a buffer, get a buffer, and then go to your pick. Okay.
That's on the main card. I'm about to talk about it. Vicente Luque, Michael Chiesa. Also, I didn't want to do like I did last week with the Brett Primus thing and forget about it, even though it was a big conversation. And all of a sudden, we're like spending 10 minutes talking about it. Luque versus Chiesa. Your favorite, the Darce choke. Man, Luque, he might not be the number one contender because of the whole Leon Edwards, Gilbert Burns, and people like that. But he's in the conversation. He's got to be in the conversation. And I know Gilbert Burns is relentlessly calling out Leon Edwards on social media. He's trash talking, mocking him, trying to goad him into a fight. But Luque needs to be in that conversation for one of those guys being like, if Leon Edwards gets the next title shot after Covington, then maybe it's Burns versus Luque. But we need to see Luque in a fight with one of those top 5 guys. He's earned it. He's rolled through everyone. My fight, Casey Kenny lost. You can say it's split decision, and Casey Kenny could look as shocked as he won it, but Song won that fight. Yadong Song, from start to finish, I wasn't mad at the 30-27, to be honest with you. 29-28 seemed more reasonable, but for as much as we talk about MMA judging, the judge that gave Casey Kenny the fight, and I'll go further because this is where I was going to go with that. We can also transition to the Fiziev fight versus Bobby Green. The judge that gave Fiziev a 30-27 and didn't look like he did not even watch the 3rd round where Bobby Green tried to make a comeback and clearly won the 3rd round. Mm-hmm. I don't know what I'm watching anymore, Brandon. Like, I know the judge that scored 30-27 for Fiziev came out. He gave a lengthy social media post, which is something they don't normally do. They don't defend themselves in public. He gave all this reasoning of why Fiziev won the 3rd round. There is no goddamn way Fiziev won that 3rd round. Fiziev was tired. He was gassed. And he was hanging on for his life by the end of that 3rd round. And if there was another minute in that round, Bobby Green would have won that fight via TKO or something like that. And I have no doubt in my mind. I'm happy Fiziev won. I had him on my DraftKings. Shout out to DraftKings. Feel free to sponsor this show. We love you guys. But there's no way. There's no way in hell that Fiziev won that third round. The other two judges clearly had it for Bobby Green. Every announcer had it for Bobby Green. Every fan in attendance had it for Bobby Green. And every fan at home and on social media had the third round for Bobby Green. The only person that didn't was the one judge, and I don't know what the hell he was looking at. So that's my mini rant on judging. I'm not going to spend a whole nother rant on it. We've already done 2, so I'm not going to do that. Other one in the card, Morales got the win against Draco Rodriguez. Minifield looked great against Ed Herman. Cape looked great against Osborne with the knockout, flying knee, highlight reel. Miles John got the win over DeSantos. DeSantos actually broke his fibia in it, so he's actually worried he's going to get cut after this, so we'll see what happens with him. And then Gatto with the win against Leonardo, and then also Munoz Jr. got the win via sub versus Jamie Simmons. Got to think Jamie Simmons might be on ice after losing 2 straight. He lost the short notice fight to your boy Giga, and then he got a real training camp and lost this one too. He had moments. He looked okay, but yeah. Anything else you want to add about this card before we move on, Brandon?
I'm just happy I went 3-0. That's all.
Yes, you are, Mr. Lee Dog. I'm gonna get him like a little crown. Maybe we can do like a little Photoshop on the show and like on the side of his head to be like the Biggie crown or something like that, just like kind of floating over him, like glowing. All right, let's make some picks and get out of here today. Mention real quick because I've been really bad about doing my mentions in the weeks before. I put them in my show notes and I don't. One does have a fight coming up on the 13th this week, Fola Yang versus Zhang in their Battleground 2, so check that out. But we're going to be talking about PFL and Bellator for our picks this week. There is no UFC, so let's jump straight into PFL 7, beginning of their playoffs, Brandon. It's 2 people we actually thought were going to be lined up to maybe fight in the final. They're fighting in the first round. We're talking about Rory Macdonald versus Ray Cooper III in the main event. You've been on the Ray Cooper train for a while. I'm leaning towards Ray Cooper too, but Rory Macdonald is an animal, and he's one of the favorites in this whole thing. Who you got in this one, and why?
This one is tough because, like you said, I have been on the Ray Cooper bandwagon. I'm a fan of his. But like we were talking about with Ciryl Gane, Derrick Lewis, like I said, I want to say that Rory Macdonald is the more polished MMA fighter. He's better technically. And, he has the ground game, stand up.
Eventually, David.
But the reason why I'm a little hesitant is because when I look at Ray Cooper, what I see a tough guy, a gritty guy, and it just reminds me of Rory Macdonald versus Robbie Lawler. Rory Macdonald, again, better fighter than Robbie Lawler, technically, but Robbie Lawler's got that heart and he's got that punching power, which we all know Ray Cooper has too. So in my head is like, man, I feel like that's why I could think Ray Cooper could do it, but then I think about that second fight with Rory. Actually, was it both fights that Rory had with Robbie Lawler? Were they both 5 rounds?
He got dropped in the 5th round of the one. I know that he got knocked out at the end in the 5th round of one. The second one was a 3-round split decision loss.
Yeah, so that's why
the first round was a split decision loss. The second one was he got knocked out in the 5th round.
5 round, yeah. So that's why in my head I'm like, oh man, I kind of maybe want to do Ray Cooper, because it's like I could see him being like a Robbie Lawler and pulling it off, where he's a dude like saying, man, you try to take him down, he'll get back up, but I think I'm gonna rock with Rory because, like I said, man, one of these guys that PFL signed up, one of their big free agency, they got a hit for him.
They got to pay off.
Yeah, exactly. They got to pay off because Anthony Pettis flamed out. Rory really was on his way to looking good.
Verdum dropped out.
Yeah, exactly. Verdum is out, so I'm gonna rock with Rory. Like I said, I just think he just is the better technical fighter. And I think this will probably go all 3 rounds.
I can see it going 3 rounds. I hope he doesn't fight like he did against Glasow and kind of take just assume he was getting the win when Glasow kept working. I'm picking Macdonald for a couple reasons. One, I think it's ironic that they're both this far in their careers are both 22-7-1. Like that's just like kind of creepy that they're matching up exactly the same record. But I think the problem with Cooper is that Cooper is too small. Like I know they're saying, wait, but Cooper's 5'9", Rory's a legit 6 foot, 5'11", 6 foot. So Rory's always been great about using his reach, using his weight to make his win. Another thing is, I remember you said, maybe it was in his debut again in the PFL, about how Rory bounces back from losses. Like he always bounces back really strong. Yep. So he's coming off that loss against Tebow. I feel like he's going to come out with something to prove, especially the first round of the playoffs. I love Ray Cooper. I think Ray Cooper, once again, has a bright future, especially in PFL, if Rory takes the money and runs back to a major promotion after this. But I do see Rory taking this win. I think his range, I think his distance is going to be a problem. I don't think Cooper can get in and dirty it up. And I think if he does, I just think Rory Macdonald's jiu-jitsu is a much higher level if they get on the ground. So I'm going to take Rory Macdonald this one. I know they have the same record, but I feel like Rory just has the experience edge as well. I'm not discounting Ray Cooper. I think he has a chance. But I do think at the end of the day, I think this is Rory Macdonald's fight. In the co-main, Magomed Kamirov. I said it right. He's fighting Sai. Sai was a last-minute replacement for Zeffirino, who got out of this contest. I don't remember if it was because he was sick or injured. But Zeffirino's out. Magomed Kamirov and Sai are matching up in the co-main event. I'm a little surprised they didn't put Collard and Manfio in the co-main event, but we can talk about that in a second. Who you got in this co-main event?
I'm going with Magomed Kamirov. I think he's going to take it. I really want to say easily. I think he's just going to control him, take him down, hold him there, maybe get some ground and pound on. I just think I think he's going to be in the final.
I wouldn't be surprised he's in the final. I definitely am picking him in this fight. Sai's coming in at the last second. Didn't have, and I know he was supposed to be on the card. I think they moved stuff around, if I'm not mistaken. Another reason why in the lead up to this card, what did we say? We're like, we're not talking about this card until it happens because so many fights change. So we left it alone, and this is another reason why in this world that we live in, it's so hard to talk about rumored fights or fight cards when they change so often. A lot of times, even in the week up to the event. So this is another case. I'm taking Magomed Kamirov, but I like Sai. I think Sai is very tough. I do think that it's probably going to go the distance, and I think it's just going to be one-sided. Magomed Kamirov. Also on the card, you got Clay Collard versus Manfio. Millender's back in action and Gleison Tebow. I think it's kind of insulting that Tebow has to take a guy. Like Tebow's coming off a win, whether you agreed with it or not. And now he's got to fight a guy who's lost 2 in a row. So I'm like, I just feel like PFL just doesn't have enough fighters to like really kind of like have like any kind of ranking system at this point. It's really just like their tournaments and season, and that's kind of it. Brett Cooper's back in action. He's been fighting KSW, places like that around the world. But the last time I really remember him is like almost like 5-6 years ago in Bellator when he was their champion for a minute. And some other fights going on. Should be a fun card as usual. Alban Mercerzin against Horcher. So some good fights. All of that taking place on August 13th. Check that out. Anything else you want to say on that card before we bounce over to the Bellator?
Yeah, no, I was gonna say I kind of am looking forward to this Derrick Horcher fight with Alban Mercier because like I said, Horcher, he's a local guy. I've seen him fight in the CFFC. I think he's a Philly guy as well. So I'm always down to see the local guys. See how they do on the big stage. Because remember Horcher did fight Khabib. He can't say that he took him on short notice.
Yeah, I mean, dude's been around for a while. And I'm looking forward to that Clay Collard Manfio fight, the battle of the people who beat Anthony Pettis. I think it's funny they got matched up. But I think that's going to be a fun fight. Just for giggles, it doesn't count on the picks, but who do you think is winning that Collard Manfio fight?
I got Collard, man. I think he's just on another level out here these days, man. I think it's time away from MMA, doing his boxing. I think that has really helped his striking game. But also too, I feel like he's taking his boxing mentality into his MMA fights, which is just like, yo, I'm just going for it. I'm just gonna throw these hands and see what happens.
I think it's kind of unfortunate because Anthony Pettis wasn't going to make the playoffs anyway with a decision win. But I think Anthony Pettis did win that fight against Manfio. I thought he won the first 2 rounds and lost the third. If Manfio fights like he did that third round against Anthony Pettis, I think he has a chance against Collard. But I think Collard is probably the more well-rounded. All right, Brandon, let's jump into the main card of the week. We're talking about Bellator 264. All 3 cards this week are on the same night. The 1 card as well as the 2 PFL and Bellator 264. Of course, headlined by Gegard Mousasi versus John Salter. We already lost 2 fights on that card as well. The Sabatella fight is out, as well as the Adcock fight. Both those fights for COVID purposes. And, oh, damn, I said the word. Shit. Anyway, health purposes. Yeah, those fights are done. So they're down to 9 fights, I believe, unless they add something new to the card. Bellator always has a lot of young up-and-coming fighters, so who knows if they'll throw something on there. But let's talk about it. Gegard Mousasi versus John Salter. John Salter's been around for quite a while. He's been in the UFC. He's been in Strikeforce. He's been, obviously, now in Bellator for a while. So definitely a tough opponent, but Gegard Mousasi's been on a different level lately. Who you got in this one?
I'm going with Gegard Mousasi. I mean, he's the better fighter overall. The only problem with sometimes, man, it's just like, does Gegard come to fight? Like, that's it. It's just like, which Gegard we're going to get? Because sometimes if he's motivated, he's like dominant. When he's not motivated, he can just take that L. But I'm just hoping that, he hasn't really fought in a while. He's motivated. He wants to prove that he's the best middleweight out there. And he's just going to get the job done. I mean, I could see him getting a finish in either the 3rd or 4th round in this fight.
Yeah, he looked great against Lima. He just dominated Lima. Salter, I don't really know what to expect. Like I said, he's been around a long time. He's got a good record. He's 18-4. But he hasn't really fought any like major names in a long time. Going down the list of his opponents, the last time I saw somebody I really even recognized was all the way back in 2015 when he fought Dustin Jacoby and won via rear naked. Salter has a great ground game. 10 submissions, a lot of rear naked chokes in there. Gegard Mousasi's no slouch on the ground. Gegard Mousasi's one of those dudes that can do everything. He can stand with you, whether it's him fighting somebody like Lyoto Machida or something like that, or he can go to the ground and tap you out. Man, this is tough for me because, like you said, Gegard tends to have like these slip-ups where he's like top of the world, and then he's like, I don't care about this fight. I'll just show up. But I think he's trying to aim for one more big payday, so I think Gegard Mousasi will get the win. So I'm going to stick with Mousasi in this one. Another reason is also Gegard is trying very hard to get to 50 wins. I've heard him talk about it. He's at 47 now. At 36 years old, he has a legitimate chance to get to 50 pretty soon if he fights a couple more times in the next couple of years. So we'll see. But both fighters are up there. It's not like either one's they're the same age. They're both 36. Gegard just has a dramatic more amount of action going in. Both of them have been off for a while too. The last time Gegard fought was October. Salter fought in August of last year. So we'll see what they got. See what they got going on. Over in the co-main event, I don't even know. This is another reason I don't understand the bookmaking. I don't know why Magomedov is in the co-main event. But Koreshkov versus Mousasi. Who you got in that one?
I'm going with the former champ, man, Koreshkov. That's probably why he's the co-main event. Former champ, you gotta give him some love. I think he's gonna win. The only thing was like Koreshkov is like kind of ever since like losing the belt, he's kind of been alternating wins. So I mean, if he wins this one, this will be his second straight. But I think he'll be able to keep the fight standing. If he wants to take it to the ground, I think he can do that as well. I just think I'm just gonna go with the champ on this one.
I was going back and forth on this one, and other than the slip up where Mousasi got knocked out by Paul Daly, once again at a catchweight fight. Thanks, Paul Daly. I don't really know who to pick in this one because, Mousasi trains an American top team. He trains with the top program. They're both relatively the same size. So it's not an advantage one way or the other as far as height and range and distance. I think it's two very similar fighters. I don't want to pick who you pick because I need to make up wins, but
go for it, man.
No, I'm taking Koreshkov for the same reasons. Just I think he's a little bit tougher of a fighter, fought on a more elite level, and the reason why also is because I've said this a number of times. You don't know how somebody's going to respond to a knockout, and even though Mousasi's had some highlight reel knockouts of his own lately, he fought that one against Volker where he hit the flying knee. Millender, he went and controlled basically 3 rounds at 220, but then in April he came out and got knocked out by Paul Daly. So I don't know how he's going to bounce back. I don't. So I'll take the former champ. I'll stay with you on that one. Hopefully in our individual pick, we can kind of split up a little bit and maybe I can make up a little bit of ground here. But what's your fight to look out for on this card and who you picking?
I'm going to go with the ladies fight. I'm going with Pam Sorrison versus Roberta Payam Samad. I think that's the middle name. And I'm gonna go with Samad on this one. I think she's the better athlete. I'm not even gonna say fighter, I'm gonna say athlete. But she most likely is the better fighter as well. And I like Pam. I've watched her since Invicta, but I just think Samad is gonna be too much for her.
It's always hard when you see fights like that and you don't know much about one person's resume versus the other. Like Samad, the only name you probably recognize on her opponent list is when she lost to Julia Budd, who, by the way, is a free agent looking to maybe even go to PFL or UFC. Just want to throw that out there for a little news tidbit. I saw that this week. But Sorensen, she's fought everybody. She beat Caitlin Young. She fought Felicia Spencer. So that's going to be a fun fight. I actually think Sorensen's probably going to take that one if I had to make a pick. My fight, played a little bit safe. I'm taking Magomedov. I've said for the moment I first saw this guy in Bellator, I didn't know who he was back in KSW and stuff like that. I'm not going to lie to you and say I knew him for years. The moment I saw him in Bellator, I said this guy is a star. When I found out that his only loss in his career is to Peter Yan, and I think it was via split decision at that, or no, it was a unanimous decision, but Peter Yan's the only dude that he's ever lost to. And I said KSW, I meant M1 and ACB. But he made his debut against Matos and just destroyed Matos. He destroyed Hamilton, and I think he's going to destroy Stotts as well. Stotts is not a slouch by any means. You're talking about a guy who's like 16-1. It's not like he can't come out and be an upset, but I think it would definitely be an upset. And the main reason why is because have you seen Stotts' record? The only loss he has is back about 2017. He lost to Merrick. He lost to Divashili, who's known for his grappling. Magomedov is fantastic on the ground. He's fantastic on his feet. But if your weakness is on the ground, you don't want to fight a guy like Magomedov who comes along those lines of like the Khabibs and stuff like that. Like that's just a bad matchup for Stotts. Stotts has looked great for a while. He's gotten a lot of decision wins, couple, like a sub and TKO here and there. But he hasn't fought the level of competition in a long time that Magomedov has. So that's my pick on that one. Anything else you're looking forward to on this card? I know a lot of fights have come and gone. Devin Franklin's undefeated, fighting against Everett Cummins undefeated, so somebody's got to fall in that one. On the undercard, you got a couple guys making their pro debuts, Mendoza versus McNeil. Ruiz and Glossner are both trying to get their momentum back. And then another, Scott's always really good about finding some of these gems. One of them, I think, is Montavio. He's fighting St. Louis. Montavio's 2-0, and St. Louis is 3-4. So they're kind of building him. They're trying to build him up a little bit. Anything else you're looking forward to on this card?
I am looking forward to your fight pick. I think that probably is going to be the most exciting fight on the card. the bantamweight drinking it again. So we shall see.
I definitely think it should have been co-main. I just don't. I don't see that. I know we had a couple good fights. You were talking about maybe picking the Sabatello versus Campbell fight before that one fell out, so that's a shame. And then of course the Adcock versus Merkahave. I'm sorry, that one fell out too. So unfortunate. The world we live in, it's kind of hard to make picks. Before we get out of here, obviously help support the show. Get all the latest Art of MMA merch and the legendary tees that Brandon's rocking. We got some great graphic tees. I'm working on more and more designs, to be honest with you, for FightersFirst.shop. I'm trying to put a lot more stuff in there. I was looking at it the other day, and I think we have some really great merch. But I think I could definitely put in a few more shirts to kind of spread the wealth a little bit. Trying to get a couple things going on for the network as well. Unfiltered is going to be launching soon in the next couple of weeks. Trying to line up interviews for that. It's going to be uncut, uncensored, unfiltered. Fighters can say whatever they want. MMA, boxing, wrestling, it doesn't matter. People can talk what they want. It's all based on combat sports. It's kind of the evolution of MMA, Art of MMA conversations that we've done like 5 episodes of. Turn that into unfiltered and turn up the volume and let fighters really be themselves and not have to like hide behind like, that was a great fight. No, I want to hear your real thoughts. I want to hear the real stories, and I want to hear the behind-the-scenes gossip as well. So we're going to try to dig into that a little bit, almost DJ Vlad like. They might be hating me after a while because I'm going to start bringing out some of these stories. So we'll talk about that in the coming weeks. Obviously, FightersFirst.com. FightersFirst.shop. And then on all social networks except for Instagram, it's all Fighters First. FightersFirst.shop on Instagram. Follow us. Give us a like. Give us a subscribe. Send us a shout out. We love to get in the comments, especially on Twitter and stuff like that. Follow us at Art of MMA. The Art of MMA on Twitter, Art of MMA Official on Instagram, and of course, Art of MMA on Facebook. We got our new Facebook group as well. One last thing. Go search for Fighters First on Facebook. We're talking about all combat sports on there. No plugs, we're not selling the merch on there. We're not doing nothing like that. Straight up talking about the fights, talking about the stuff going on. I think my last post was actually about BJ Penn and all his titles that he had won. So definitely, it's all about the fights. It's all about the sports. So jump in on that. Get in that conversation. Brandon, you got anything else to say this week?
Man, just be on the lookout, guys. Fight news coming soon.
Oh, you want to drop that?
I'm just waiting on the contract. That's all.
All right. Yeah, you heard it. I've been keeping quiet. I didn't know Brandon wanted to drop that teaser like that. I know you did drop something on social media. You were kind of hinting at it. So hopefully we'll see the mechanic, a.k.a. Blade, back where he belongs in a kickboxing ring, taking somebody's head off, as he likes to say. And, of course, go get all Brandon's merch over in the shop. Show some support for the mechanic. Show your love. You know, he's the good guy. Everybody loves him. Everybody hates me. But I'm actually the good guy. Y'all don't understand. That's the heel. I'm the face. That's the heel.
Right.
All right. For the mechanic, Brandon Cuttino, I'm Mike Ginn. We'll see you next week. We're out.